Hello everyone and welcome back. In this episode I will talk about Cloud Identity Service. It exists out of three services: Identity Authentication Service, Identity Provisioning Service, and Identity Directory Service. All of these services will help you to secure your BTP environment, and it will allow you to set up single sign-on for your users but also for your administrators. The first one, Identity Authentication. As it says, it focuses on authentication by setting up single sign-on by integrating your corporate identity provider. A corporate identity provider could be ADFS, Entra ID, Okta, or any identity provider that you have as your main identity provider on-premise as well in the cloud. Cloud Identity Service, especially the Identity Authentication Service, will act as a proxy. So BTP will connect to Identity Authentication Service, and this one will forward the request to your corporate identity provider. You could also do it without your corporate identity provider, but then you will not be able to configure single sign-on. The goal is to integrate the Cloud Identity Service with all SAP cloud solutions. So if you switch from one cloud solution, for example SuccessFactors, to Workzone or to BTP, that you can share the same token and that you will always stay authenticated without a round trip to the corporate identity provider. Of course, because of security reasons, maybe you need to have this in place and then you can still enforce this round trip. Next to that, it also comes with additional functionalities like two-factor authentication, risk-based authentication, and even conditional authentication. By using conditional authentication, you can, for example, say I want some users, internal users, to go to my corporate identity provider, and like external users, they should authenticate using users from in the Cloud Identity Service. Which brings me to the next one, Identity Directory. Identity Directory is a storage in Cloud Identity Services for users. You're at least not required to enable this. You could decide to not store your users in Cloud Identity Service and really just use it as a proxy. But if it would be an option to also enable this and to have a user store, and this would allow you to set up use Cloud Identity Services to maintain authorizations by using user groups, for example. Now, some solutions require to have user store enabled. Some not, so you can still choose. But like newer services like Build Apps, they require you to have the users available in Cloud Identity Service. Also, for example, SuccessFactors exists out of different modules. They even use some of the properties in the user store of the Identity Directory to jump from one module to another module to still know which user it is. And it's not possible to do this without Cloud Identity Service. So for some services, it's required. So if you can still choose and it's not a problem to enable this, I would enable this. Then we have Identity Provisioning. If you enable the user store, you also need to get the users into your Cloud Identity Service in the Identity Directory. Therefore, you can use provisioning. So you can then provision users from your S4HANA system or any other source system and create them by using the SCIM protocol in the Identity Directory. Although single sign-on can be achieved without Cloud Identity Services by using your corporate identity provider directly in BTP, it's still recommended to use Cloud Identity Services. Not only for this avoiding the round trip, but also because more and more new services in BTP really require to have Cloud Identity Service. So I would start using this from the beginning. In the next episodes, we will focus on Identity Authentication and Directory. Authentication for single sign-on, Identity Directory for authorizations. Besides that, we will also have a look in different Cloud Identity Service strategies.